And now, our big headline. We have movies to discuss, which means we are talking about Fantastic Four and Superman, finally. I know sometimes the structure works against me, but I'm keeping it, man. And it's just the way things go. So, let's talk about the situation with Superman and the Fantastic Four. Make sure I pushed the right button. Hey, look at that. All right, so box office numbers for Fantastic Four and Superman. Let's get into my prediction. The headline for this episode was that I win. I am right about my prediction. Though, there's a little bit of a caveat to that. Mostly in that both movies sound like they're going to be a little meh. I have yet to watch either. I plan on, before we get back to regular episodes, I plan on having watched them so we can talk about this in much more detail. But right now I have to go off of box office numbers as well as reviews from people I trust. Also, don't forget, Dubby.gg is the channel partner. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Code Generally Nerdy at checkout, get you 10% off. Anyway. So, Superman and Fantastic Four. My prediction was that Fantastic Four would be pretty mid and that it would potentially do all right in the box office, but not. It wasn't going to be super great with the fans. From the performance of the numbers, we only have opening weekends, so we're going to compare opening weekends, but from the performance of the numbers, it sounds like that is the way of things. There again, the caveat to this, there's the second caveat to this, I think, is that Superman cost significantly less to make. So even though Superman to a certain extent is fairly incoherent as far as like storytelling goes, because it's more just kind of scene followed by scene rather than scene influencing the next scene, etc., etc. I'm brain farting words. In spite of that, in spite of this happens and then this happens and then this happens, it still seems to be scoring better with fans. We'll pull up the Rotten Tomatoes here in a second too, because I'm super curious about that. I haven't looked at that yet. So round one goes to James Gunn. This comes from Cosmic Book News again. Round one goes to James Gunn and the new DCU, as James Gunn's Superman flick is flying high and has managed to beat Fantastic Four's opening box office weekend. So Fantastic Four overperformed for its Thursday previews, bringing in $24.4 million, higher than the estimates, and beating Superman's $22.5 million on Thursday. If the trend continued through the weekend, Fantastic Four would have beaten Superman's opening of $125. However, Fantastic Four did not, because it is mid. We'll get into the things that I have heard and why that is in just a minute, but Monday update, we have the full numbers. Fantastic Four's weekend is $117 million domestically, with a $216 million worldwide gross. So not even $1 million in foreign box office. The Superman opening weekend was $125 million. So beat it out by about $10 million domestically. I don't know what the international numbers are. Fantastic Four only brought in $117 million domestically. Check out the daily comparisons below. Yes, that's what we want. Where are the daily comparisons? There we go. So, domestic worldwide for Fantastic Four is $216. But we don't have the domestic worldwide breakdown for Superman in this. We'll just compare the days, I guess. So, first day, again, Friday, bigger for Fantastic Four than for Superman. Superman got 37 on day 2 and 33 for Fantastic Four. And then on day 3, so Sunday, we got 31 versus 27. So that is a pretty dramatic drop-off by comparison. Now, if you have not seen the movie and you're really sensitive about spoilers, because again, I haven't seen the movies either, but I do know what happens in both movies. So we're going to talk about that in a roundabout way. So if you're sensitive to spoilers or whatever, then, I guess click away, or if you're watching this in post, you can fast forward a little bit. But from the sounds of it, we have some creative liberties with both franchises, and I think the creative liberties with Superman are a little bit less discomforting than the creative liberties with Fantastic Four. However, it should be noted that the creative liberties with Fantastic Four are less than they have been previously, so that's why it is still doing an acceptable amount of money as far as the box office is concerned. It sounds like it will be somewhere over 600 million by the end of it, but it is not going to break 700 million, whereas Superman is on track that it could very potentially get much, much closer to $1 billion before it leaves theaters, which would mean that is by far the big winner, even more so because it cost them much less to make that, because you have huge names in Fantastic Four and you have relative unknowns in Superman. So, but again, spoiler things. The things that have changed that I think are going to be difficult for long-time comic book readers. We'll talk about Superman first because it's been out a little bit longer. Superman, there's two major changes, and one of those changes is actually James Gunn lying to us. The first of which is Jor-El is kind of evil in this version of Superman, in that he wants Superman to take over Earth. He wants Superman to be the ruler of Earth and have a harem of women, which is not anywhere in any of those comic books. So I don't know why James Gunn decided to have that change. I mean, it is, to his credit, it is a little bit of an interesting change, in that if that is the message from your father, that is what your father wanted you to do, but you end up becoming Superman instead, I think that's an interesting character change. It's hard for me to really get behind that, even though I do find it interesting, because that is a fairly significant, basic change in the makeup of who this character is, but that we're not going to have that conversation right now. The other big change with Superman is Ultraman is now Bizarro, apparently. So, and modern Bizarro, not classic Bizarro. So classic Bizarro is from the Bizarro universe where everything is backwards. Hello means goodbye, etc., etc. So him being a hero means he's actually a villain, and he's very dumb, where Superman is smart, etc. But that got retconned, I think, with the New 52 back a few years ago. To the 2010s or so, maybe slightly more recently than that, I can't remember. But the new version of Bizarro is a botched clone of Superman. Why is this relevant? Why is the difference relevant? Because that is the version that they're going with for this cinematic universe. Botched clone of Superman is dumb and just kind of doesn't do super well without direction, without being told or controlled somehow, which is why Lex uses him as kind of a blunt object more than anything in the comic books, is because that's kind of all he's good for. He has Superman's DNA, so he is Kryptonian, which means he's just as strong as Superman on paper, but really it doesn't work out that way because he's kind of a moron. Ultraman in the comic books is from a different universe as well. Ultraman is just as smart as Superman because he is basically the same as Superman, only he is the kind of leader, conqueror that Jor-El in this movie wanted this version of Superman to be, because he's a villain. He is the leader of the crime syndicate on Earth 2. And while they have never been able to do that very well in the comics, the last iteration that I remember reading was the Forever Evil version of the crime syndicate, and I dug that. I mean, again, it's still kind of, if you really think about it, plays out fairly weak, but was a lot of fun to read. Ultraman is evil Superman and is not a clone. So Ultraman in this movie, back to where we started, is a clone of Superman. And James Gunn told us there is no clone of Superman in this movie. There is no clone of Superman in this movie. There is no clone of Superman in this movie. And then we get a clone of Superman in this movie. So it's a little bit ridiculous that he felt like he had to lie to us about that, but like whatever. Also, why not just go with Bizarro, because that character exists kind of exactly as they have it, from my understanding. Again, have yet to watch the movie. From my understanding, as almost exactly as they have Ultraman in this movie. That is how modern Bizarro works. So why they had to make him Ultraman is beyond me, but yeah, that's why it's going to be hard for me to watch this. But getting into the things that they've changed with Fantastic Four. Now, again, fairly new out, so if you care about spoilery things, this is going to be kind of close territory. So we got a close approximation of all four of the members of the Fantastic Four in the Fantastic Four movie. By that I mean Reed is kind of the smartest man in the world, but it's a world that doesn't really have superheroes necessarily, so that's not really saying a whole lot. And he is the leader of the Fantastic Four, but like kind of second guessing himself, and he's not as buried into his work to the point of neglect, which is a big character flaw for the comic book version of Reed Richards. Is he neglects his family because he literally always has the weight of the world on his shoulders, because he's always trying to protect it from doom. He's always trying to protect it from intergalactic things, and just like that is Reed's world. Is he is literally the smartest being in the universe, and so he has to use that intelligence for good, and therefore conflict arises. So Sue, not quite as young as in the comic books, which I guess you could count as a positive, but like her infatuation with Reed doesn't play out the same from what I understand, so it kind of changes the base character there as well. And also the fact that Reed pays attention to her changes the conflict between them, because these four characters in the comics, the reason why they work so well is because of their basic dysfunction, that they function as a family in that they're not perfect. They're arguably a perfect superhero team, and they make that dysfunction work for them, but it is those inherent familial conflicts is why we love them so much as the first family of comic books. So the other change is Johnny Storm. Johnny Storm is not woman. In the comic books, he's a playboy. He is a womanizing playboy. He does crazy things and is kind of super hot-headed, hence why he gets the flame abilities. Like, these things they reflect their abilities reflect their personalities to a certain degree, because Sue feels invisible to Reed. That's why she gets invisible, because he's so hyper focused on his work all the time. She feels invisible, hence the invisibility powers. Reed has to be everywhere at once, which is why he stretches. And then I don't remember exactly the character flaw for Ben. But I do remember, because, this is fairly inherent as he's become the Thing, that he is resentful towards Reed for turning him into a monster. He is depressed. Like, that is a major character tribute to Ben Grimm that is painfully absent from this movie, again, from what I understand. So I think, because this is the first family, because this is one of the most well-known superhero units in comic books, that is why they feel very familiar, but it's that uncanny valley nature of, like, it's almost there, but because it's not there exactly, like, it feels very alien. And I think that's a big part of why we have that dramatic turn. If we go back and look at these numbers, we have a fairly dramatic turn on day 2 and into day 3. Excuse me. So I think that's a big factor here. But again, it does sound like they're both going to do. Superman's going to do well enough regardless. Superman has already made its money back by most counts, because I think their total cost, that's the word I was looking for, good lord, total cost for Superman was something like $250 million or something. So they've surpassed that by now. They've crossed over $500 million. They're good. I think some reports have it as high as $375 million. And even then, they're totally fine because they didn't do regular movie math here either. They didn't double the movie budget with the marketing budget. It sounds like they went in sort of cheap with the marketing budget, and even there, a little bit cheaper than we probably are even accounting for, because James Gunn is mostly the marketing. It's pretty much him saying, "I made a movie about Superman. Come watch it." So, being as Marvel did the Fantastic Four, obviously they did do regular movie math, and they have been trying to put this thing everywhere. I mean, I saw what was that, a car insurance commercial that had a Fantastic Four tie-in. Like, it's insane right now. So I don't know what the estimates are for the Fantastic Four movie. Let's see if let's go. Actually, let's pull up the Rotten Tomatoes. And see what the Rotten Tomatoes scores are for this. Well, Superman. Oh, go away. I don't want trailers. I want the page, dang it. There. So we'll pull this one up. And then we'll pull up the Fantastic Four as well. Go away. All right, so pulling the both of them up. Oh, go away. Fine, I will. There. All right. What the heck, man? All right, so let's tile these. We'll compare them. We have critics score. Oh, critics and audience score are about the same. So we have 83% for Superman critics score, 86% for Fantastic Four, which makes sense, again, because narratively, Superman sounds like it's kind of all over the place. And then a 91 for Superman audience score, and a 92. But how many? We have twice as many audience ratings as we do for Superman as we do for Fantastic Four. So that kind of makes sense. And I think a lot of those are actually kind of paid for. So do we have? I don't know if we have movie math numbers for this just yet. So we might have to go over that in a future episode. But yeah, we have pretty comparable as far as that goes. I think once we get more ratings for the Fantastic Four movie, the score is going to go down. That's just kind of how I feel. What is it? The garbage. I'll do it off of the stream real quick. Smelly garbage? Is that what the website was? Come on, meow. Stinky garbage. There we go. All right, so let's hit that up. Nope. There it is. Oh, stinkygarbage.com. Duh. So let's go back here. We'll untile these. And we'll go here and see what Stinky Garbage has to say about it. Because I think I trusted this audience aggregate a little bit more. Oh no! It's not been updated since Captain America. Oh, that makes me sad a little bit. That's unfortunate. Movies. Maybe. Nope. Has not been updated. That sucks. Well, all right. So, let's go check stream health real quick while we're here. Oops, wrong window. Doing all right. Okay. Back to the notes. Next up is a continuation of a long-running franchise favorite, and that is Evil Dead. The new Evil Dead movie has begun filming in New Zealand. Name of it is going to be Evil Dead Burn. Production has officially started on Evil Dead Burn, the next installment in the long-running horror franchise. Filming confirmed by director Sebastian Vanecek. French filmmaker Sebastian Vanecek, who also did Infested, confirmed the news by posting a clapboard on Instagram with the caption "Day 1 from 93 to NZ," signaling the start of production in New Zealand. The hashtag Evil Dead Burn accompanying the post. Cool. Yeah, next Evil Dead in production already. That's a real quick one. Continuation, follow-up rather, for another movie that we've been keeping tabs on, and that is Meet the Parents 4. We now know the official title. I don't know if there's a release date for it yet. We will check. Focker-in-Law is the new Meet the Parents movie, so of course it is. Ben Stiller, Robert De Niro, Blythe Danner, Terry Polo, and Owen Wilson return for the fourth installment in the long-running comedy series, while Ariana Grande is joining the cast. New film's title is referenced in the surname of Stiller's character, Greg Focker. In the original movie, he endures a lot of painful, awkward hijinks while visiting his girlfriend's parents for the first time. Meet the Parents, which recently celebrated its 25th anniversary, that makes me feel super old, became box office blockbuster with $330 million worldwide. The comedy of errors then spawned two commercially successful sequels: 2004's Meet the Fockers, 2010's Little Fockers. John Hamburger, who wrote the first three films, will also write Focker-in-Law. Stiller teased the fourquel, but there's still no release date for it yet. Oh, no. Focker-in-Law opens November 25th of 2026, so there is a release date. Cool. Let's continue on. We only have, one more piece left. All right. So this is... moving over to the MCU, we have new X-Men director talking about the new X-Men movies. It's fair to say Marvel's reboot will be recognizably different from the previous franchise and explore the scale inherent to the comics. It's very pretty language for comic book nerds. In a press conference ahead of the release of the Fantastic Four First Step, so this is a couple days old at this point, July 28th, Marvel Studios boss Kevin Feige confirmed that what had long been speculated, Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier is helming the MCU's X-Men reboot. Now, in a new interview with the Playlist, Schreier told comic book movie fans not to expect a new X-Men movie that resembles the previous franchise led by Hugh Jackman. Quote, yeah, I think it's fair to say, Schreier said when asked if Marvel's take on X-Men will be recognizably different from what came before, adding as a joke that there's that red sniper dot out there somewhere, you know. Oh, because he's talking about, yeah, if he says too much. But to be able to explore all of the ideas that are inherent to that rich source material, but also at the scale inherent to the source material, that's like a very rare and fortunate opportunity, Schreier continued. That's very exciting. Director said earlier in the interview, what I can say is it's just inherently interesting and complex material. The core idea of what X-Men is involves complexity. It's an incredible opportunity with super interesting characters and much internal conflict. These characters are wrestling with their identity and place in the world. That's inherently interesting and complex material. Just keep saying interesting and complex, and see if it sticks. I hope it does, but really you have to get your writers to stick on that and not the fans, right? Feige let it slip to the press that the MCU's take on the X-Men would be far different from previous big-screen iterations of the superhero team by saying Schreier is, quote, going to make a youth-focused reboot that may be reflected in mutant castings, and it'll definitely be felt in the tone and perspective of the film, unquote. Just how the new X-Men heroes will be introduced in the MCU remains to be seen. Jackman played his beloved Wolverine from the previous X-Men franchise in last summer's Deadpool and Wolverine. No kidding. His original co-stars Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen, James Marsden, Kelsey Grammer, Alan Cumming, and Rebecca Romaine are all set to appear in next year's Avengers Doomsday. Schreier's Thunderbolts is now available to buy or rent from home on PVOD platforms, paid video on demand. So, that is at least promising. I'm not saying that we have high expectations yet, because our expectations are still pretty low, but that's at least a little bit promising. So, yeah, I think... Hello. We have somebody new joining the chat. WSP. Kamal? Are you there, sir? If you're here for the conversation about the Superman versus Fantastic Four, you have apparently just missed it, and that brings us actually to the end of the episode. So sorry, we are wrapping things up right about now. It has been just about an hour and a half, so that is the proper length of an episode round about these parts. Of course, now people start dumping in. That's unfortunate. But let's go back here. Thank you all very, very much